Hey, I'm Scott Waldron.
And I'm Scott Savannah-san. You could call me Sai, or like with her in it. Like while we're doing the actual shoot.
Hi!
First kit that we're going to be using is the Nikon D3100 camera, which is a 14.2 megapixel camera. Has many of the basic features that you will need. Like the only thing that it doesn't have that I've noticed was bracketing, but that shouldn't be an issue for new photographers. Lenses that I'll be using. First one is the kit lens that comes with the camera. 18 to 55 millimeter, 3.5 to 5.6 G. Gives you a good range to start off with, but after some experience with photography, you'll start to realize that it doesn't give you everything that you want, but not a bad lens to start with. The second lens that I'll be using is an old 50mm lens that was used for the Nikon film cameras back during 1974. It's a Nikkor S. This one goes up to an aperture of 1.4, a manual focus lens, but that's not bad. The quality of the photos taken with this lens is actually pretty good. And for $60, you can't be beat. And the flash that I'll be using for this video is the Yongnuo YN560. It's about $60 on Amazon.com.
The kit I'll be using today is Pentax. This is the Star SD. It was released in 2003. Has a smaller LCD screen on it and 6 megapixel sensor inside. Here's the standard Pentax kit lens, 18 to 55 millimeter. It's just got the 3.5 to 5.6 aperture range, depending on how you're zooming. I have an old manual focus, manual aperture lens. This is 18 to 55 Chinon 1.7. This is the flash I'll be using. This is a Pentax AF 280T. It's made around 1980, I believe. You have to be careful with older flash units because some can damage your camera. So you want to make sure to check that out before buying an older flash unit.
Now I'll be going over the photos themselves to see how everything turned out. First up is Scott Savannah-san, aka Sai Hawkeye. He has 4 different photos. First photo was with the kit lens at 50mm, 1/25th of a second, ISO 100 and f5.6. The background is not that blurry. You can easily tell what is in the background as well as the foreground. They're pretty similar with sharpness. That's due to the depth of field. Pretty standard photo. That's what you get with the kit lens, 50mm. Second photo is with the 50mm Nikkor S AI modified f1.4 lens at f1.4, 1/25th of a second at ISO 100. Quite a difference between the first photo and the second photo. The second photo has a lot more blur in the background. Getting something like the 50mm Nikkor that's completely manual focus and aperture control, you can get something low cost and get that effect. The next photo is with the kit lens again at 50mm, 1/25th of a second, ISO 100, but this time with the built-in flash. Foreground arm, you can see strong shadow. That's due to how the built-in flash is right on the camera. It's facing directly at the subject. You'll get that harsh lighting. Normally used to seeing lighting that's directional because the sun is extremely far away. It just doesn't look like what you get from a standard camera flash. The last photo is with the kit lens at 50mm, 1/25th of a second, ISO 100. With the built-in flash, but this time that's triggering an external flash set to 35mm, so that's zoomed in at 35mm. The flash is the Yongnuo YN560. You can easily see in this photo that extra light gives it a more natural appearance. It's not coming directly from where the camera is. With external flash, you get a nice balance of lighting, depending on where you put it and how you set your scene up. Here are my photos taken with the Pentax equipment. First up is with the kit lens at 55mm, 1/100th of a second, f5.6. The flash was not fired and the ISO speed was 1600. At 1600 ISO, you're going to get quite a bit of grain. Next up we go and we attach the flash to it. The second photo this time is also with the kit lens at 1/80th of a second, f5.6. The external AF 280T flash was attached and the ISO speed was 200. You can see a vast improvement with the flash. It was not directly aimed at the subject. Flash head was slightly tilted upwards, so you can still see some catch lights in her eyes, but it's not a full directional strong light. Quite a vast improvement with the kit lens and a decent external flash. Next up is a photo with the Chinon 55mm f1.7 lens. That was at 1/50th of a second shutter speed and f1.7. Flash was not fired and the ISO speed was 200. You can easily see in this photo that there's a lot less grain compared to the first photo with the kit lens and no flash. That's of course due to the lower ISO speed, but it's possible because that lens is pretty fast at f1.7. The nice thing about those older lenses, they might be manual focus and manual aperture control, but you can get them for a low price, and you do benefit from that large aperture. The last photo is also with the Chinon 55mm f1.7 lens. The exposure was 1/150th of a second at f1.7. This time we added the flash, the AF280T, and the ISO speed was 200. In this photo you can see a slight improvement over the one without the flash. I believe I was bouncing the flash off the ceiling, so there isn't such a drastic visual effect from that additional light.
So the question is, do you pick up a low-cost lens or low-cost flash first? We've seen through the results that both of them have their positives and negatives. The lens, you've got the large aperture, which means depth of field control. That gives you the artistic backgrounds and all that. The flash, you've got a multitude of different lighting possibilities. You can use the flash off camera, on camera, it doesn't matter. It'll be definitely an improvement over the onboard flash of the camera. You can always pick both of them up. There are definitely low-cost options, which is what all this whole video is about, is finding those low-cost options in these two different add-ons. So hopefully you found that helpful.